Today's game being broadcast in Spanish where available using the SAP button on your television. Miami just won the toss. They have deferred, and Jacksonville will receive. So Chad Henne in his 5th year out of Michigan about to face his former team.
Yeah, the good news though, Marv, he's obviously got a great feel for the personnel, having played here the last 4 seasons, so he shouldn't be any issues in terms of understanding what he's going to see defensively in terms of corner play and linebackers. He has been streaky at times. This is his 4th start for Jacksonville, and as he told us last night, he is very anxious to play against his former team.
Jacksonville about to take the field. They have had so many injuries, so many scratches coming into today's game. Originally, the return man was to be backup wide receiver Quan Cosby, 4-year man from Texas, but they have made a switch.
Yeah, 15 players on injury reserve. They've got 10 players on the roster who weren't with the team for the season opener. So you've got a lot of new players out there on the field today for Jacksonville.
This is Dan Carpenter getting set to kick it off to the combination of Keith Toaston and Richard Murphy. Murphy has never handled a kickoff in the NFL, a 2nd-year player out of LSU. He's been back deep, but has not had a return. Toaston, a 2nd-year man out of Oklahoma State, who has returned 2 kickoffs. And we're underway here in Miami. It is played back to the end zone by Murphy. They'll bring it out to the 20-yard line. And a look at the Jaguars' offensive line at left guard. Austin Pastor up from the practice squad, getting the start over Evan Britton, who was filling in for the injured Mike Brewster. And Cecil Shorts back from a concussion. And he actually has been a bright spot for Jacksonville with 43 receptions. The running back is Montel Owens, who is actually the 4th running back used this season by the Jaguars. Maurice Owens-Drew was the starter, and there was a lot of hopes for Maurice after his holdout as Owens got the call. Nolan Carroll made the stop. Miami defensively up front with Cameron Wake. We mentioned the 14 sacks, 3 last week. The linebackers, Carlos Dansby leading the Dolphins in total tackles. Secondary, Sean Smith at 6'3", one of the taller cornerbacks in the NFL, and they've been throwing it his way. He has been a major target. 2nd down and 9 for Henne, who dumps it off. Here's Owens, who had a big game last week, stepped out of bounds, just short of the marker. Montel Owens, Rich, has actually been a Pro Bowler the last 2 years as a special teamer. Very good special teamers, and he's actually come in and done a nice job at the running back position, not only in the running game, but in the passing game as well. He runs hard, he's physical, and he's a smart guy that knows what to do in critical situations. Jaguars looking at a 3rd down and 3, and now Murphy has come in as the 3rd down back. Here's Henne completing for the 1st down for Justin Blackmon, who puts the speed on and is run out of bounds inside the 35 by the strong safety Chris Clemens. 38-yard pass play as Blackmon comes up with his 46th catch of the season. Yeah, a little bit of a crossing route there, and the cornerback gets picked. You know, Blackman's really come on here the last month. He got off to a slow start. I think he's starting to figure out the speed of the game, starting to learn the finer points of playing wide receiver in the NFL. First down for the Jaguars. The ball is at the 35. The toss to Murphy. Looks to bounce it. And that is taken out of bounds by the outside linebacker, Kevin Burnett. Picked up 4 on the play. Well, Jacksonville has not started games well early. You look at the last opening drive touchdown. You got to go all the way back to October of last season. 24 straight games. They drove down the length of the field last week against the Jets, and
Chad Henne wound up throwing an interception in the red zone on third down.
Now, Guy Wimper, usually an offensive lineman, but has been successful as a pass catcher, is a tackle eligible. The handoff to Murphy. Straight ahead. Jacksonville a bit short in terms of wideouts, with combinations of Blackman and Shipley and Cecil Shorts and Tony Clemens, a couple of tight ends, and Lewis and Potter. So Wimper has actually been a pass receiver.
And that's very unsettling, Marv, to a quarterback. And both these teams have gone through that. They've rolled a lot of different receivers in here. Bringing a guy in on Wednesday, having him playing a lot of snaps on Sunday.
Once again, Wimper is eligible, 3rd and 1. They go to the ground, and it is Owens able to break tackles for a first down inside the 15. Chris Clemens up to make the stop, and Montel Owens goes for 11.
Yeah, nice run here, a little short yardage. They've had problems in short yardage and goal line situations. Good job blocking at the point. You see Owens, he gets through there, he's up on the safety. You just got the sense when we sat down with Jacksonville last night, Mike Mularkey and some of the players, there's a quiet confidence about them. This is a team that goes out, they practice hard each week, they prepare, and they want to finish strong.
And as you can see, the Jaguars do not get into the end zone very often off that full house backfield. Murphy got the call. Picked up 3 on the play.
Well, it's the mistakes. You know, you got a fumbled snap. You got a veteran quarterback and a center that have worked together plenty. This shouldn't happen. That delays the run. Now you've got the back that's Richard Murphy. He's waiting for the ball in the hole. Can't make mistakes. That's really what's held back Jacksonville. It's the missed assignments, the mental errors, the penalties in this part of the field that have been absolute killers.
Along with talent level, wouldn't you agree?
You got to have talent. There's no question about that. And I think both of these teams looking to improve their roster.
2nd and 7 again. Guy Wimper is eligible. Here's Henne with time and threw it away. Intended for Wimper, who was well covered. Threw it over his head. Covered by Jason Trusnick.
You mentioned the talent. I mean, you're throwing to your best receiver right now, Guy Wimper. He just threw it to him. But look at this graphic. Guy Wimper's got a receiving touchdown. Look at the guys to the right. I mean, you know, obviously Maurice Jones-Drew has missed some time, Jennings, but look, I mean, I think it tells you the situation that they have. They need more talent around the quarterback, particularly at the wide receiver position.
Although Guy Wimper was a tight end in college at East Carolina, for what that is worth. 3rd and 7, here's Henne, and he's taken down. A sack for the Dolphins. A loss of 6. It is Jared Odrick, the 3-year man out of Penn State. So the field goal unit will come on. Josh Scobie, 21 of 23 for the season, will attempt from about 37 yards out. Scobie able to drive it through. Jaguars on the board first. When we come back, Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins in their first offensive possession. Jaguars eat up nearly 5 minutes on that opening drive. 10 plays, 61 yards. The big play, 38-yard pass to Blackman from Henne led to the field goal. Scobie getting set to kick it off to Marcus Thigpen, one of the dangerous kick return men in the NFL. Averages 29 yards a return, which is 3rd in the league, including a 96-yard touchdown return. Thigpen, a first-year player out of Indiana. Scobie able to pound it into the end zone. Thigpen runs it out. Put a move on across the 20-yard line. A 24-yard return. And here comes Ryan Tannehill. Back in Miami, Marv Albert, Rich Gannon, And there's Ryan Tannehill, who played well early, but in recent games, Rich, he's been struggling.
Yeah, he was thrown right into the fire, and I think you can see it's not too big for him, but he has flatlined here a bit the last month. There's no question. He's got to play better. They've got to play better around him.
On the first play, it is Reggie Bush. Trying to take it to the outside as a flag is tossed. The referee is John Parry.
Offside. Defense. Number 58. 5-yard penalty. Replay. First down.
So they'll do it again as we take a look at the Miami offense up front. Jonathan Martin, the second-year player out of Stanford, once again at left tackle for the injured Pro Bowler Jake Long. Backs and receivers, Brian Hartline has had a breakout year, 62 catches to lead Miami. Once again, the handoff to Bush. Able to change direction. Picked up 5 on the play. Jaguars defensively next to last in the NFL, helped by the recent addition Jason Babbitt up front, former Eagle. Middle linebacker Paul Puslesny once again leads the team in tackles. Injury hit secondary rookie Mike Harris starting again for Rasheed Mathis. Bush picked up the first down. And the pass completed to Marlon Moore, 3-year man out of Fresno State, only his 5th catch of the season. Mike Harris on the stop. That's good for 13. Now, Moore is in there because of the injury suffered by Devon Bess.
And remember now, they're working on the rookie over there, Mike Harris, who's getting a start for Rasheed Mathis today. And that's what you got to do. You got to find out about him. You got to challenge these young players early.
Here we go.
Reggie Bush in the backfield with Charles Clay, who is also a backup tight end. Here's Tannehill with a bullet. And another Miami first down. Anthony Fasano, the tight end, on the reception and stopped by Puslesny. That is a 14-yard gain.
Well, with as well as they run the football on first down, I think this is really where they can be better. Throwing the ball at times, changing it up a little bit, and getting this tight end involved. Fasano against the Jacksonville linebackers and safeties is a mismatch.
3-0 lead for Jacksonville. Just under 8 remaining here in the first. Bush went between the tackles, looked like he would cut to the outside. Reggie Bush averaging about 4.5 yards per carry, coming into today 791 yards, looking for a second straight 1,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah, I think he's proven his critics wrong about whether or not he can be an every down back and take kind of the pounding and abuse over a 16-game season. He's been pretty steady for the Dolphins.
2nd and 6. Tannehill in trouble and was able to complete, but short of the first down. He found Charles Clay for about a yard. Getting back to Reggie Bush, final 3 weeks may well be Reggie's finale with Miami. His contract expiring at the end of the season, and there have been no moves to re-sign him.
Well, you look at the running game. Look at this, the first 2 weeks, how good he was, and then the last, since then, I mean, they've taken a nosedive in the running game. It's a team, they've rushed for over 100 yards only twice in the last 10 games.
And now Bush is flanked out to the right, empty backfield for this 3rd and 5. Tannehill. He had a wide open Rashard Matthews who should have made the catch.
Well, they need a lot more production at the wide receiver position. I mean, the problem, we've been talking about this, you got to make those catches. I mean, they're not all going to be perfect, but you've got to be able to make a catch every once in a while in a critical situation. They have not been able to do that on a consistent enough basis.
Matthews, a rookie from Nevada, has caught only 3 balls all season. This is a 53-yard attempt for Dan Carpenter. Started slowly this season, but has come on from 53 out. It is good. His career-long 60. Last week, he hit from 53. The Dolphins and the Jaguars tied at 3. Dan Carpenter, who just connected from 53, about to kick it off. So Carpenter, after the bad start, has hit on 14 of his last 15. His only miss was a 50-yard attempt. And this one is put out of the end zone to bring it out to the 20-yard line. Jacksonville and Miami tied at 3. Jaguars back to the offense. Chad Henne making his 4th start, 8th appearance. He's taken over as the starter, replacing the second-year man Blaine Gabbert. Sidelined by a shoulder injury off the play fake. Pass for Mercedes Lewis, and he was well covered by the strong safety, Chris Clemens. No gain on the play. Let's take a look at the playoff picture. When you see these 4 teams, the Ravens, Colts, Packers, and 49ers, a win, and they are in.
Yeah, it's that simple. And not only that, if Baltimore wins, they clinch the AFC North. Green Bay's got a chance as they play Chicago to clinch the NFC North. So a lot at stake around the National Football League.
Second down and 10. And again, just a short pickup. Montel Owens makes the catch. Stopped by Sean Smith. Just a couple on that play. And a flag.
Personal foul. Face mask. Offense. Number 63. That'll be half the distance to the goal.
Well, that's on the center. Brad Meester. We're set for an update on the subject of talking playoffs. JB and Bill Cowher.
Houston trying to clinch the South.
Yeah, Andre Johnson, 3 yards here from Matt Schaub. Andre Johnson already 4 catches, 74 yards. They are up 10-0 early in the first quarter.
All right, back to Marv Albert. Rich Gannon.
RJB Houston 11-2 coming into today. The ball is back at the 5. Setting up a second down and 20. Henne changes the play at the line. A handoff to the running back, Montel Owens. And he is taken down up at the 15, picked up 4, and we're set for yet another update, JB and Bill.
Not the way the Giants want to start.
Well, as Asante Samuel always does, he'll sit on routes. He'll do it right here. Eli throws it. Asante steps in front. This will lead to a Michael Turner 1-yard run. Atlanta is driving again, and it's 7-0 Atlanta.
Hey, Marvin Rich, I love the coach sitting on the route. Back to Marvin Rich.
And the NFC East and the division leaders in the NFC up in a scramble. Giants, Washington, Dallas, Redskins, and Cowboys at 7-6. Timeout has been taken by Miami. So when we resume, a 3rd down and 15.
You know, you think about Chad Henne returning back to Sun Life Stadium. He's not had a lot of great experiences here. Look at these numbers. 0-10 in his last 10 starts. It's one of the reasons he's no longer in a Dolphins uniform, but we had a lot of fun with him last night talking about coming back and playing here, and he said he can assure us there's not going to be a lot of Chad Henne number 7 Dolphin jerseys in the stands here today watching the Jags.
Did you think Chad was having fun?
You know what? Look, I think he's excited. This is a great opportunity. I mean, look, they have got Blaine Gabbert. Mike Malarkey told us last night, hey, Rich, this is Chad Henne's job the rest of the way.
And the backup now for Jacksonville, Jordan Palmer, the brother of Carson Palmer. Now, of course, remember the Oakland Raiders. Montel Owens, Brett Jones, the running backs, 3rd down and 15 for the Jaguars. Henne in trouble and taken down. Kevin Burnett, but a flag is thrown. Burnett with the tackle.
Holding, number 78, offense. Penalties decline. Result of play, 4th down.
Well, it's on the right tackle, Cameron Bradfield.
Well, he's going to have his hands full all day. The problem is he's got to block Cameron Wake off the edge, and that's not an easy assignment. I mean, you can see him just grab there. He just can't handle the speed. Talked to Cameron Wake on Friday about his matchup with Cameron Bradfield. He says he's a guy that doesn't not great with a change of direction, so he feels they can beat him a little bit up the field with his speed and work back under as well.
So here is Brian Anger, the rookie punter for the Jaguars. Marcus Thigpen is back. Last week he muffed a punt. Calls for the fair catch as it angled to the far side. It's a 52-yard punt by Anger. Jaguars and Dolphins tied at 3. Miami head coach Joe Philbin in his first season as a head coach, offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers the last 5 years. Miami back in possession on a delay. Bush is stacked up. No gain on the play for Reggie Bush. Talking a moment ago about Ryan Tannehill struggling in recent weeks. And then you look at the receiving core that he's dealing with over the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, Mark, I don't know if they did a good enough job addressing that position in the offseason. I mean, Hartline's been steady. Best good slot receiver who's not up today, but they haven't been able to find that other guy. They've rolled so many different receivers through the last 13 weeks.
Second down and 10 for Tannehill, who throws one through the hands of Bush. Perhaps that thrown a bit hard.
Yeah, it's tough on the back. But, you know, we were just talking about the receivers. Legadunane was here, Anthony Armstrong, Jabbar Gaffney, Clyde Gates. They rolled all them through. They just signed Armand Binns this week, who was on the street. They've got Marcus Thigpen, who's been trained as a running back playing in the slot. Rashard Matthews. So many different players. It's hard to develop any continuity with the rookie quarterback.
Third down and 10, and now Daniel Thomas in the backfield. Tannehill works out of the gun. And a flag comes flying from the near side.
False start, number 75, offense, 5-yard penalty, third down.
It's the right tackle, Nate Garner, making his second straight start at that position.
Well, you look at the lack of production. This is amazing. Fewest receiving touchdowns by wide receivers. The Dolphins have 3 receiving touchdowns at the wide. There's just not enough explosiveness there, not enough big plays. They don't have the receiver who could just take over a game here in Miami.
Third down and 15. Again, a long count. Tannehill getting the protection but could not find an open man. Threw in the direction of the rookie Rashard Matthews, so the punting group will come back. Miami at 5-8. They've lost the last 2, 5 of their last 6, as we mentioned at the start. At one point they were 4-3, and after a 30-9 blowout to the Jets, they've lost 5 of the last 6 games. Jordan Shipley back deep on this punt for Jacksonville. He drifts under it and looks to return. Went sideline and is bounced out of bounds. Taken up by Nolan Carroll. 63-yard punt, of beauty, and a 7-yard return. Well, aerial coverage of today's game is being provided by DirecTV. Beautiful day here in South Florida. Programming reminder, nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Break down all the NFL action on NFL Monday QB tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network. It's the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. NFL Monday quarterback featuring our Rich Gannon, Phil Simms, Steve Berline, Richard Murphy, second-year man from LSU, picking up 3.
Well, it's awfully lonely in that Jacksonville backfield. You think about it, no Maurice Jones-Drew, no Rashad Jennings, Jordan Todman out. Obviously, not a lot of players available to him, and that's really disappointing not to have your best player. Maurice Jones-Drew, the loss of him was traumatic for this football team.
Strong safety Chris Clemens of the Dolphins shake it up. They're checking him out. We'll be right back. Tomorrow, spend the holidays with 2 broke girls. Now, which one is naughty? Which one is nice? Find out on a new 2 broke girls tomorrow, only CBS. As we broke away a moment ago, Chris Clemens was shaken up. He's checked over by the medical staff. replaced by Jimmy Wilson, a second-year man out of Montana, so he'll go to strong safety. Wilson actually sat out last week with an injured hip. Both these clubs have been hit hard by injury, particularly the Jaguars. Touched on earlier, 16 players on injured reserve. This is Owens with a stutter step, works his way across the 20, met by Kevin Burnett. Just 2 on that pickup. Ready for another update. Here's JB with Bill Cowher.
Tony Gonzalez can still play, coach.
Especially in the red zone, JB. That's Matt Ryan's favorite target here, 12 yards out. And Atlanta up 14-0 over the Giants.
Looking to clinch a first-round bye with the win and some help. Marv Albert, Rich Gannon.
All right, guys, Atlanta gunning for a 12-2 record. Here in Miami, the game is tied at 3. Jaguars 3rd down and 3. Richard Murphy in the backfield. Henny with the look. Completes. Nice move by Cecil Shorts to pick up the first down. Put the brakes on and then was able to get additional yardage. It's a 7-yard pickup. How about Cecil Shorts coming into today, Rich? 43 catches, 824 yards. Last season, just 2 receptions for the whole year.
Yeah, I really like this guy. I think he's their most productive player right now. He's averaging almost 20 yards a catch, 7 touchdowns. And talking to the Dolphins coaches, he's the one they're most concerned about.
Here's Henny throwing along the right side. It's broken up. And a flag comes in. That was intended for Shorts. And Sean Smith will be called for interference. Sean Smith, who goes 6'3", one of the taller cornerbacks in the NFL.
Pass interference, defense, number 24. Contact without playing the ball. Automatic first down.
It is called on Smith. And Smith has said that it seems teams have been throwing at him less often than earlier in the season. But the stats show that no cornerback has been targeted as much as Smith. And he has given up a lot of touchdowns.
I thought that was pretty good coverage. And I looked at it from both angles. I don't know what more he could do.
Montel Owens battling for yardage out at midfield. Montel Owens last week against the Jets had a career high, 14 carries, 91 yards. And he actually missed some time because of cramping up, but had a terrific day.
Yeah, you look at Maurice Jones-Drew there. I mean, I like Montel Owens, but they really miss, obviously it goes without saying, they really miss Maurice Jones-Drew. I mean, his production, not only in the running game, but the passing game as well. It'd be great to get him back before this season's over.
2nd down and 6 for Jacksonville. Blackman is flanked to the right side. And he looks that way. Catch is made. Justin Blackman picks up 5 on the play. We had a chat with Justin last night, and he's the only 2-time Biletnikoff Award winner in NCAA history. And then he asked you, as Kevin Burnett now is down from Miami, now back on his feet, he said, what was it like for you throwing to Hall of Famer Fred Biletnikoff?
I think he got me.
You were taken aback. I didn't see that reaction being positive.
Yeah, I think he got me confused with another quarterback, maybe Kenny Stabler or
Darryl LaMonica.
Or maybe even George Blanda. I think he thought I was George Blanda. But Justin Blackman's going to be a good one. He got off to a really slow start. I think he's beginning to figure things out. I think one of the things he struggles with a little bit is getting off the press. You see how big and strong he is. He has to be more physical and use those long arms at the line of scrimmage with some of these cornerbacks who want to get up there and press him at the line.
When you were in Oakland, wasn't Biletnikoff the
wide receivers coach? Yep, he just retired a couple of years ago. Old Freddie B. And of course a Hall of Famer.
It's 3rd and 1 when we resume. You see 32 seconds left in the quarter, and Guy Wimper, tackle eligible as announced by the referee, John Parrott. And you can see the 3rd down conversion ratio to this point. Inside handoff, and It's the fullback, Greg Jones, able to take it to the outside to pick up the first down. It's a 3-yard gain. Trusnick makes the tackle, and that is the end of the first here in Miami. Dolphins, Jaguars tied at 3. We'll be back to South Florida after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS. An overcast look here in South Florida. Did rain briefly during the first quarter. Out of the second quarter, Marv Albert, Rich Gannon, Sun Life Stadium in Miami. Play fake by Henny and throws short. Pass intended for Cecil Shorts. And we're set for another update. Here's JB and Coach Bill Cowher.
Kirk Cousins rebounding.
Yeah, like RG3, they run a little play action here out of the pocket. He's going to find Leonard Hankerson, 54 yards. He was not touched. Touchdown, 7-7 right now, Cleveland and Washington.
Coach, that throw on the move.
Right on the move, JB.
Rich Gannon can appreciate that. Marv Albert, Rich Gannon.
And you see the NFC wild card contenders. Redskins have been a red-hot story in the D.C. area. Swing pass, Mercedes Lewis, the tight end, and well covered by the Dolphins. Kevin Burnett makes the stop. No gain on that play.
Well, one of the problems, you look at Miami, we mentioned this earlier, Marv, look at his fewest takeaways in any 6-game span going back to 1950. That's been a problem. The lack of takeaways was a problem last year, generating takeaways. And talking to Kevin Cole, defensive coordinator, one of the things he talked about was they do these takeaway drills each week, constantly working on ball extraction, the scoop and score, the rip and strip. For 17 fumbles, and they recovered just 3.
And another member of the Dolphins secondary shaking up, Nolan Carroll, the right corner, who's playing for the injured Richard Marshall. So we'll step away. Miami corner Nolan Carroll gingerly making his way to the Dolphins sideline, replaced by R.J. Stanford, one-time starter for Carolina, second-year player from Utah. Chris Clemens, who suffered a neck injury in the first quarter, is back in there. Ninth play of the drive. They start on their own 15. Henny with a deep drop, looking right then left, flag down, and Henny running it inside the 40-yard line, met by the middle linebacker Carlos Dansby. Picked up 5, but there is a penalty marker.
Holding, number 67. Offense, 10-yard penalty. Replay, third down.
Well, Rich, that's on the newest addition to the Jaguar squad. Left guard Austin Pasder, rookie out of Virginia.
Yeah, you're just going to see him. He tries to come off on the little game. He's late. He's just going to grab the linebacker, Vernon, and we catch that every time. Guy was on the practice squad a week ago. He's learning on the job.
Oh, bobble by Henny, who is able to recover. Now slides at the 45, covered up by Clemens. So that's an 8-yard run, a bobbled snap for the second time this afternoon.
Yeah, a little bit low, but I mean, you got to make that one. It looks like Chad Henne has his eyes downfield. That's, as you mentioned, Mark, it's the second time today they've had a problem with the quarterback center exchange.
So here's Brian Anger, booting from his 40-yard line. Thigpen called for the fair catch back behind his 10. 33-yard punt, but no return. We're early second, tied at 3. Some star-studded names in the Dolphins' Ring of Honor. There will be another addition at halftime. Bill Oxbarger's name will appear right there behind that Dolphins banner. Bill, the very successful, well-respected defensive coordinator on some of those great Miami teams, as Lamar Miller gets the call, picked up a yard. It is the 40th anniversary of the undefeated 1972 Miami Dolphins, and many of them are here today and will be honored at halftime.
Yeah, I thought it was great when we sat down and talked to Joe Philbin, the head coach, and he talked about the history. And he wanted the fact that he wanted the players of today to not only know, but to watch some tape and to get to find out why this team was so successful.
On 2nd and 9, the completion to Charles Clay, stopped by the right corner. Derek Cox, that's good for 6. And there is Joe Philbin having a chat with Don Shula.
I think it's important to know the history of the game. You know, even in talking to Kevin Coral, the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, he talked about the no-name defense. He talked about the killer bees, showed a whole highlight reel to the players in training camp. And, you know, I think it's important to understand the history and to be able to create your own legacy. And that's really the challenge, I think, Marv, for this Miami football team. They're 5-8 right now. It's been a disappointing season. Talked about the importance for both of these teams to finish strong and to carry some momentum into the offseason program. And that's really the challenge for both of these first-year head coaches.
Don Shula, one of the premier coaches of all time. You see number 42, Charles Clay, limping off. What is going on here in this first half? Wow. Clay made that catch. Second-year man from Tulsa, and he heads to the Miami sideline. Lamar Miller is in the backfield. Tannehill has a 3rd down and 3. Able to get it away, but a hard hit, a crunching hit on Marcus Thigpen, and a flag down. That was Chris Przinski, backup defensive back, who was able to knock the ball loose, and a penalty flag is right there.
Personal foul, defense, number 42. Hit on a defenseless player, 15-yard penalty, and an automatic 1st down.
And as you heard the call from John Parry, it is a hit on a defenseless player. So a personal foul right there.
Well, part of the problem is that Ryan Tannehill has to look in front of the throw. It's man-to-man. Look, he's looking at Thigpen the whole way. It's some type of it's alert coverage where that safety, Przinski, comes down and he's looking for the crossing routes. And so you have to be able to see out in front of throws. Thigpen can't take that shot to the front of the head.
Miami with a 1st down off that penalty. Short set by Tannehill, and it is through the hands of the running back Lamar Miller, being covered by Julian Stanford. Getting back to the 40th anniversary of the 72 Dolphins, quite a weekend starting Thursday evening when Don Shula had the team at his home for dinner. Shula said it was great because I was able to check them all over, weigh them in, have them run some laps.
Some of them look pretty good.
Yeah. Nick Bonacotti still looks
he's
terrific.
in great shape.
All right, Tannehill in trouble and taken down. The ball comes loose, still loose. This is always tough to decipher. Of course, Jacksonville saying it's theirs. Miami claiming they were able to cover up.
Well, you got to stay busy at the bottom of that pile. I mean, you can't assume that the officials are going to get it right. Well, this is a poor decision by Ryan Tannehill, the rookie quarterback.
It is Jacksonville on the recovery.
Every once in a while, you got to understand you see Babin right there. Now he's in trouble. Now put 2 hands on the ball and put it away. That was a poor decision by Tannehill.
So Babin with the big hit, and the strong safety DeJuan Landry somehow came up with the football.
Yeah, you see Babin there. He's the one that gets it out at the very end. And talk about the difference that Babin has made coming over from Philadelphia. I mean, they've had a very difficult time rushing the passer, and look at the production. 7.5 sacks. Almost as much as the entire Jacksonville defense had before he arrived.
Let's see if Jacksonville can take advantage. They take over at the Miami 20-yard line. Murphy in the backfield. It's Blackman in motion. And he throws for Blackman. He's got a touchdown, Jaguars. Justin Blackman beat R.J. Stanford, is playing for the injured Nolan Carroll, and the Jaguars with a 9-3 lead. It's a 20-yard touchdown pass play.
Oh, a wonderful throw by Chad Henne, but Stanford's right in position. I want you to watch. He's going to come into the corner. He just takes a poor angle, and he doesn't play the ball well near. And that's been the problem with this Miami defense all season. You see the hit that Henny takes at the end by Soliai.
Wait a moment, there's a flag thrown.
Report on the first play of that series, which by rule is a 5-yard penalty. 5-yard penalty, will replay first down. There's no score.
Apparently, Guy Wimper, who has been an eligible receiver, did not properly check in.
And what's crazy about that, Marv, is he's probably played a half dozen snaps already, and he's reported every time he's checked into the game.
That takes the touchdown off the board.
Yeah, you look at him, he's right here. You've got to check in. And I can't imagine that he didn't. He's done it every play so far. It hasn't been a problem. Communication issues there. Again, you get a good look at Sanford just taking a poor angle on the ball.
1st and 15. The running back is Murphy. Just a yard on the play. So the beautiful pass from Henny to Blackman, who was able to beat Stanford, is taken away.
And there's a reason why Jacksonville has lost 9 of their last 10 games. I mean, it's mistakes like that. I mean, your quarterback throws a touchdown, and you've got a player who doesn't report, an eligible player. And it's those type of mistakes that are just killing Jacksonville right now.
How would you have handled that?
Probably not as well as Chad Henne, I can tell you that.
2nd down, 14.
You've got to be able to turn the page. That's the key.
Henny throws. Beautiful effort by Blackman. The question is, was he out of bounds? He was. He caught it out of bounds, covered by Sean Smith.
Well, they're getting pressure on Henny, but he's going to sit in there. He's going to hold the ball a lot longer than Blaine Gabbert. Boy, just couldn't get that left foot in.
It's pretty close.
Really close, but I don't think he gets that left foot in. You're going to see, there's the first one. Now watch the second one. Yep, they didn't get it in. Close, though. Still a great effort by Justin Blackman.
3rd down and 15. A field goal from here would be about 41 yards out.
This is an area where Jacksonville has really struggled. We talked about last week, just 2 of 16 against the Jets.
And he takes a pop, able to complete, but well short of the first down. He connects with the tight end Mercedes Lewis. Pressure from Carlos Dansby.
Defense, number 98, 5-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
Another penalty. It's on Jared Odrick, the left defensive end for Miami.
We talk about a penalty. Look at that first offside penalty this season for this Miami defense. They've been very disciplined under Joe Philbin, but boy, you don't want to give Jacksonville another shot on 3rd down in the red zone.
Is it discipline or lack of aggressiveness?
Probably a little bit of both, but it's also attention to detail, understanding the situation in the game.
3rd and 9 for the Jaguars. Game tied at 3. 4.5 gone by in the second quarter. Henny in trouble. Again able to escape. Beautiful move by Henny, reaching close to the marker. We'll see where they spotted Dansby. Able to chase him down.
Well, if you're 2-11, you got to go for it, right? What have you got to lose?
It's Mike Mularkey, head coach of the Jaguars, in his first season. Had a little scare. Monday was taken to the hospital. Said he got a clean bill of health as he came right back. The defensive coordinator and assistant coach Mel Tucker took over the practice on Monday.
This is a homecoming of sorts for Mike Mularkey as well. He was the offensive coordinator and tight end coach here for a couple seasons in Miami.
And as a quarterback sneak for the first down, Chad Henne appears to have picked it up. Did not get it. Did not get the spot. Miami will take over on downs.
Yeah, back here in Miami. Let's take a look at this short yardage play here. I mean, just watch Carlos Dansby hit this thing. I mean, that's really what gets it done. He's going to fire up in there between that guard center gap, and it's the penetration. He about hits Chad Henne right in the hole.
Mike Malarkey was thinking of throwing the challenge flag, but checked upstairs and changed his mind. So Miami takes over, and Bush hit back behind the line. Reggie Bush taken down by Russell Allen, the outside linebacker, for a loss of 3.
Yeah, that's what Jacksonville wants to see. They want to see him lose his shoe. That's the first thing you do, get him off the field. The second thing you want to see Reggie Bush do is run east and west and not north and south. And one of the problems that Reggie had earlier in his career, he wanted to bounce every run to the edge. He's been a lot more disciplined now, staying between the tackles.
Now Daniel Thomas has come on for the shoeless Reggie Bush. Tannehill able to gun it, but nothing there. Anthony Fasano, the tight end, makes the stop. Just a short pickup.
Well, that's the problem. You look at Miami, if you limit them in the running game, you really feel like you've got a chance, because they really have a difficult time getting the ball down the field in the passing game.
51 triple, 51 triple.
Just under 8.5 remaining in this first half. Jaguars and Dolphins tied at 3. Tannehill has a 3rd and 6. And goes medium range for the completion. Marcus Thigpen, the slot receiver, picks up 15, and a Dolphin first down. Marcus Thigpen is all over the place. Returns kicks, returns punts, emergency running back, slot receiver.
Yeah, this would make me nervous. I mean, you've got really a running back playing a wide receiver role, and in some critical situations. He's a guy that doesn't have a lot of training or experience running routes.
First down, Miami. Bush is back. He's flanked to the right. Miami with the empty backfield. Nice catch made, but short of the first down. Rashard Matthews for about 7.
That quick slant is a hard one to throw when you're in the shotgun. What Ryan Tannehill should do is go grab some tape of Aaron Rodgers this offseason and see how quick he gets the ball out of his hands. That's what you got to do. You're usually late with that throw if you're not under center and you're in the gun.
Go!
2nd and 3 from the 35-yard line. Bush looked like he wanted to bounce it, could not. Met by Huzlesny.
They have not run. I'm sorry, Marv. They have not run the ball. I mean, we talked about that graphic. They've not run it as well here in the last 7 or 8 weeks, and that's a problem because they're not good enough in the passing game. And you think about who they are, their identity. They've got to be able to run the ball effectively on offense and stop the run on defense and try and win close games in the fourth quarter. That's who they are right now.
And they are calling for the yardsticks. I mentioned earlier that these final 3 games could be the finale for Reggie Bush. The contract expires at the end of the year. There's been no move to re-sign him before the season started. Remember, he said publicly that his goal was to lead the NFL in rushing. Did have some big games. They are short of a first down. He's been averaging about 5.5 a carry. He's had some knee and hip problems. He is currently ranked 18th in rushing, and all around it's been an up and down season. Remember that game earlier, ran for 172 yards, but you're looking at a contract situation. You're looking at Reggie's age. Would you bring him back?
I would. I'd get him more involved in the passing game as well. I think it's a problem. I think some of it's the rookie quarterback just not realizing what he's got in Reggie Bush. I think some of it's the play caller. Why not go back and look what New Orleans and Drew Brees and Sean Payton did with Reggie Bush in the passing game?
Now Tannehill looking to sneak, and let's see. I'll have to check this one out.
Boy, they might be a little bit. Ooh. Look at Jason Babin.
Well, he picked it up. Looked like he bobbled the handoff once again.
Oops. He double clutched it.
Not able to recover. Picked up the first down.
It's a nice job there, avoiding the hit in the hole from Posluszny.
Miami from its 38-yard line as we approach 6 minutes to go in the first half. Tannehill angles it to the near side and has, well, very close to a first down. Matthews makes the catch. He's the rookie from Nevada, 7th round draft pick, met by Rasheed Mathis, and it is A Miami first down.
And I like the fact that they're going no huddle. They're jumping the ball a little bit. You know, sometimes if you're struggling a little bit to find your rhythm offensively, this no huddle can help a quarterback. Is it difficult for defense to make substitutions and to dial up all those blitzes?
Reggie Bush. Gang tackled. Mike Kozlowski led the way as Reggie picked up 4. Miami coming off a loss to the 49ers last week in the Bay Area, 27-13, which all but ended any postseason thoughts, although they are still mathematically alive. But if they lose here today, it is for certain all over in terms of a wild card playoff situation. But it would take a miraculous number of things to happen around the NFL for Miami if they win to still have a shot. Jaworski Lane, the fullback, on a 2-yard pickup off that catch. So they place it at the 45-yard line. It sets up a 3rd and 4.
I think it would take an MIT mathematician to figure that one out.
Many, as they say, permutations.
Talked about that no huddle and how it's helped Ryan Tannehill.
An overall 9 of 13, 75 yards. Thomas, the running back. 3rd down and 4. Tannehill's pass is incomplete. Intended for Matthews, looking for a penalty, and he gets the flag. He was covered by Rasheem Mathis, who has been the nickel back today, with Mike Harris, the rookie from Florida State, getting the starting assignment.
Well, Mathis has struggled a little bit this year. He's coming off of that knee injury from a year ago.
Pass interference. Defense, number 27. Automatic first down.
It is on Rasheem Mathis.
Yeah, you see right here, he's going to hook him with that left arm right there at the top. He's grabbing. When you lose confidence in your abilities, this is what you do.
5 consecutive completions for Tannehill. Thomas running hard. Met by Harris. Daniel Thomas, second-year player from Kansas State. Injury hit last year as a rookie. He was a second-round draft pick last season. Sat out a game earlier with a concussion.
Well, you see him limping off again. That's been the problem, really, as you mentioned, Marv, with Daniel Thomas. He's not been able to stay on the field.
2nd down and 4. Lamar Miller has come on for Thomas. Fake handoff. And Tannehill picks up the first down. Nicely done by the Dolphins. Tannehill goes for 9 and a first down. Coming up on the Verizon halftime report, join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report.
That looked familiar. We were in Washington last week. We just saw RG3.
Any comparison between
I
Ryan
don't know.
Tannehill and
Ryan
Robert
Tannehill
Griffin in terms of running the ball?
No, but you know what? This kid is athletic, and he can make some plays with his legs.
This is Bush. Breaks tackles, refusing to go down, and has a first down. DeJuan Landry finally got him to the ground, but he picked up 11, and that gets this crowd going.
Wow, what a nice move there. You look at that. That's a new experience for Mike Harris. Wow, he's got no chance with Reggie Bush. Boy, his quickness is still something special. Well, they've not been down in the red zone very much, and when they've been down there, they have struggled a little bit. They've had to settle for field goals in this part of the field.
The 1st and goal at the 6. They've had the ball for 7 minutes. This is Bush up the middle. Gets inside the 5-yard line. So that brings us to the 2-minute warning. Jaguars and Dolphins tied at 3. Back in Miami, the 14th play of the drive for the Dolphins. 2nd and goal at the 4. Reggie Bush is split wide to the right. And here's the pass. Touchdown, Dolphins. the fullback, the 260-pound Jaworski Lane with the touchdown catch.
Well, it's about illusion in disguise. Freeze it right here. They're going to bring the motion this way. They sneak the back out underneath, and they've got the tight end out. Tannehill's got a two-way go. He winds up throwing it back inside to Charles Clay.
14 plays, 89 yards, 7.5 minutes. So Carpenter adds the extra point. And the Dolphins have taken the lead. Jaworski Lane, the rookie fullback out of Texas A&M, third touchdown of the season, his first on a touchdown catch. And look at Tannehill, 6 for his last 6.
I actually misspoke there. I was looking at the tight end Charles Clay, and it was Jaworski Lane, but the misdirection is really what got Jacksonville.
The deep man is Richard Murphy. And it goes through his hands into the end zone, and he'll stay right there. They'll bring it out to the 20-yard line. Well, tonight it is the Survivor finale. 4 castaways remain after 2 tribal councils in 2 incredible hours. Only one will be the champion. It's the season finale and live reunion show. That's tonight. Only CBS. A 10-3 lead for Miami. And Henny's pass is caught by Shorts. Works his way near the 40-yard line. Stanford and Jones make the stop. That's good for 18 as time is running down here in the first half, coming up on a minute and a half to play. Little flip pass handled by Jordan Shipley. Jacksonville with 3 timeouts remaining. Clock is running. And he was 8 of 11 for 79 yards against his former team. And fires one to short, spinning his way inside the Miami 40-yard line. That's a 17-yard gain, and a timeout is called by the Jaguars. 2 timeouts remaining for head coach Mike Mularkey. Moment ago, Cecil Shorts with his 3rd catch of the half. 4 wideouts now for the Jaguars. Henny, it is broken up. Pass intended for Justin Blackman.
Not trying to do too much there, Justin Blackman. He's trying to pluck that one out of the air and run before he makes the catch. You look at that, 34 drop passes this season, 2nd most. And Detroit's probably thrown the ball, Marv, twice as much as Jacksonville to this point in the season. Too many drops.
Cannot feel good for the combination of Blaine Gabbert and Chad Henne, although Jimmy Wilson did a good job breaking that last one up. And this one is caught short of the first down, but a marker on the field. Shipley made the catch.
Holding, number 78, offense, 10-yard penalty, replay. 2nd down.
On the right tackle, Cameron Bradfield.
Well, I've been really impressed with the play of Chad Henne, Marv. We talked about the fact that down to the 4th running back, they've got some issues at wide receiver. They've got a lot of young players playing, but this guy's sitting in there and he's slinging it. Looks good.
He throws bullets.
Yeah, he really does. Now watch, they run a bunch of these slants. Now they come off the slant and run a slant and go. They've got to do that at some point.
Henny to the other side, and it is incomplete. Intended for Tony Clemens, a rookie out of Colorado, playing only his 2nd NFL game.
Yeah, that one, better throw there would help, but you've got to make difficult catches, and you've got to put it on these receivers as they run those slant routes.
This is a Jacksonville team that is 2-11. worst start in franchise history. In the very first season entering the NFL as an expansion team back in 1995, they went 4-12. Then the next year, Tom Coughlin turns it around. They go to the AFC Championship game. 3rd down and 20. And his pass is broken up. Intended for Blackman, who was well covered by Sean Smith, the left corner.
You know, Sean Smith got there the same time the ball did.
So a 4th and 20 with 45 seconds to play in the half. And the punting unit will come on. Brian Anger for the 3rd time, rookie from the University of California, who was a 3rd-round draft pick, which is very high when you're drafting a punter. Marcus Thigpen is back at his 10. A floater. Thigpen lets it go. And
wow,
a good pop for the Jaguars. Going to be down inside the 5. It's a 45-yard punt with some reverse English involved.
Like one of my sandwiches.
Coming up on the Verizon halftime report is JV Dan, Shannon Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher. We'll have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Here's another look at that punt by Brian Anger that refused to cross the goal line, and now Miami has to be very careful with 32 seconds remaining. Nothing tricky here. The ball is at the 4.
You know, there was a lot of criticism of Gene Smith, the general manager in Jacksonville, when they took Anger that high. But he has been an outstanding punter already this season as a rookie. He's going to be a really good one. He may be the next Shane Leckler.
Your former teammate.
My former teammate out in Oakland.
So that is the end of the first half with Miami in front of Jacksonville 10-3. Not one of the bigger crowds of the season. Rich, they did not exactly elbow their way in.
They're still out tailgating.
We'll be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. You're listening to a Pepsi anthem by Wiz Khalifa. You can download this and other NFL-inspired anthems at PepsiAnthems.com. Welcome back to Miami. Marv Albert along with Rich Gannon. Halftime, it's the Dolphins with a 10-3 lead on the Jaguars. We did not expect much offense the way these two teams have been going as of late. First half was on the quiet side, but there was one touchdown off a beautiful fake by Miami quarterback Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, they tried to little action going away, and of course Jaworski Lane, the fullback, sneaks out of the backfield. And again, you look at the strength of these two teams. It's defensively, and neither team's scoring a lot of points right now, but that was a good way to finish the half for Miami.
Tannehill 10 of 14, 79 yards, including the touchdown.
And you look at the first half stats, again, not a lot of explosive plays, and it's been a problem for both of these offenses. You look at the production that Miami has this year. It's really been about the running game and Reggie Bush, and Jacksonville's built the same way. Although they're trying to develop some young players, they've got a couple young receivers that I really like. I think Justin Blackman's got a chance, and Cecil Shorts has been probably their best player on offense to date.
You have changed your mind on Justin Blackman, who was struggling early in the season.
Yeah, he didn't get off to a good start. He was not winning the one-on-one battles. He struggled getting off the line of scrimmage. But you look how big and strong he is. He does have some speed. And I think it took him a while to figure out the speed of the game. And I think he was late coming out of breaks. He was late with his eyes sometimes. And the other challenge that he's had to learn to play with two different quarterbacks. He had Blaine Gabbert. Now he's got Chad Henne. I think Chad Henne throws a little bit different ball. And he's going to sit in there a little bit more and give the receivers a chance to work down the field.
Rich, talking with Chad Henne yesterday, he said the one difference he has seen with Blackman is that he's practicing better. Not the case earlier in the year.
I think you have to learn how to be a professional, how to come in early, stay late, do the little things, the attention to detail that I think that Justin Blackmon has figured out.
Henny, incidentally, 9 of 15, 96 yards. Cecil Shorts, 3 catches, 42 yards. Reggie Bush has had a couple of impressive runs, but he's also lost yardage on several, so only 8 carries, 25 yards.
And remember now, the negative runs were a problem for Reggie Bush in this Miami offense the first half of the season.
Miami will receive to open up this second half, and Marcus Thigpen is back deep. It's a short kick. He plays it at the 5. Thigpen gets up to the 20-yard line. It is a 15-yard return.
Yeah, really no secret when we sat down with Mel Tucker, the defensive coordinator for Jacksonville last night. He said we can't allow Reggie Bush to take over this game. They've not given him the vertical seams. They've made him bounce too many runs. And they've done a good job on the backside cutting off. Jacksonville played the run very well in the first half.
Dolphins have lost their last 2, 5 of the last 6 games. They're 5-8. At one point, they were 4-3. And feeling very good about themselves. Play action by Tannehill, and he fires downfield. The catch is made by Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline on a 37-yard pass play for his first reception of the day.
Well, look at Fasano. He's actually in the background. He's actually lined up. He doesn't even do anything. He's just going to sit there the whole time and wait for the defensive end, Jeremy Mincey, to come to him. You don't really see that very often. A little different strategy there for Fasano. Just sit and wait for them to come to you.
Catch number 63 for Hartline. That is the right guard, John Jerry, walking off to the sideline. 3-year man out of Ole Miss. Miami up front with Mike Ponce at center, Richie Incognito and Jerry at the guards, and Nate Garner and Jonathan Martin at the tackles.
It was almost as if Fasano forgot for a second where he was. Just sitting there waiting. A little bit of illusion in disguise.
And Josh Samuda has come on to play right guard for Jersey, and you see the flags.
False start. Offense, number 41, 5-yard penalty. First down.
It's the fullback, Javorsky Lane. And now Jerry is back on the field.
It always drove me crazy. I'd tell the guys in the huddle, sit in now, hard count. I'd use the hard count, and one of my guys would jump off sides.
51.
You've used that hard count up in the booth, and we're jumping. You know,
28.
so effective. First and 15.
28. Go.
You sell it. Here's Bush. Try to stutter step his way. Short pickup again. Russell Allen, the outside linebacker, with the tackle. Just 2 on the gain for Bush. Last year, Reggie ran for 1,086 yards, averaged 5 yards per carry. He's about 4.5 per pop thus far this season after the good start. He's
Roy to 51.
dropped off.
I got you.
Now Daniel Thomas has come on for Bush.
48. Go.
Play fake. And Tannehill right on target. Another Miami first down. Able to combine with Marlon Moore. 3-year man from Fresno State.
Well, just watch Marlon Moore. He's going to stutter, and he just really freezes Rasheed Mathis. That's a really nice route by Marlon Moore off of play action.
51 lead.
8 straight completions by Tannehill going back to the second quarter. And a Miami first down. And another completion, but it's a short range pass from Tannehill to the tight end, Fasano.
Well, they haven't had a lot of success running the ball, and so they're starting to throw it a little bit more on first down. I like it. Look at that, 9 straight completions. Give this rookie quarterback a chance to make some plays on the early downs. Starting to feel it right now.
Here we go. 48. Go.
The pitch to Bush cannot make the turn at the edge. Dwight Lowry was right there.
It really felt like Miami was going to have some success running the football. They just run the toss play. Now you've got to be able to pick a hole. Right there. Stop. Right up in there. That's the hole. That's where and again, why not take it up in there? One of the problems that Reggie's had over his career is he trusts his speed so much, he wants to try and get on the edge of the defense.
A loss of 3 on the play. Now Bush splits wide to the left.
Hey, what is on?
Tannehill jumps to the near side. Hartline broke a tackle, has a first down. Was able to get away from Przinski, and there is a penalty down.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 27. Penalty's been declined. Result of the play, first down.
Penalty on Rasheem Mathis declined. Miami on the move. They have a first down at the Jacksonville 11.
Well, that's his second one, and if I'm Ryan Tannehill, I'm going to find Rasheem Mathis. He's struggling right now. Really struggling. Look at that, a lot more success through the air on the ground right now for the Dolphins offense.
Handoff to Bush on a delay. Gets back to the line, stopped by Paul Posluszny. No gain on the play.
It was interesting. Jacksonville was really struggling coming into this game, stopping the run. They were 31st in run defense, giving up almost 145 yards a game on the ground. We've been talking about he can't be a good defense if he can't stop the run. They've done a much better job of that today. They've not let Reggie Bush get going.
2nd and 10 for the Dolphins. Short set by Tannehill. Completes at the 5 to Fasano. It's a 6-yard hookup, short of a first down, but a good opening drive here by the Dolphins.
Well, they've looked really sharp, even though they haven't had a lot of success running the ball. Tannehill's doing a nice job spreading it around, whether it's to Fasano or Brian Hartline or. Well, really the one that got it started was the throw to Marlon Moore. It's a great throw and a really nice route by the young receiver.
3 wideouts for the Dolphins. 3rd down and 4. Tannehill fires. It is incomplete. Intended for Hartline. Brian Hartline, with all his success, 64 catches on the season, just 1 touchdown reception.
Boy, when you go in there, you better have your head on a swivel. There's some traffic in there. Look at all those Jacksonville jerseys around. This one comes in quick, and it's a tight window there for Ryan Tannehill.
So the field goal unit checks in. Dan Carpenter. And wait a moment. Brandon Fields looking off the snap to throw the ball, and that was a bit off the mark. Jacksonville taking over on downs. Montel Owens pushed back. A variety of problems by the Dolphins on their special teams unit, and add this to the list.
Yeah, you got Fasano down here. Now what happens is Mike Harris buzzes out late. Once they see the corner buzz out, now you got to kick the field goal. That's a poor decision there by the holder, Brandon Fields. And you can see Darren Rizzi over there, the special teams coordinator, not happy with his punter.
2 tight ends for the Jaguars. 2nd down play. The ball fake by Henne, rolling, and throws incomplete. Shorts in the area, brings up a 3rd and 6.
Really nowhere for Henne to throw that one. You got to look at Fields. He's had a great year. He's really punted well for the Dolphins, but that was a poor decision there.
What would you think of the play call? It would have opened it up.
Well, that's the problem.
17-3 as opposed to 13-3.
Well, it's a terrible mistake, and that's what happens when you have that type of ability. You put that in the hands of the punter, and he makes a poor decision. It's not like he's a quarterback and can see the guy buzz out late. Should have saw that, put the ball down, and allowed him to kick the field goal.
Penny in trouble and pass incomplete. So the punting unit will come on. Shipley was the intended receiver.
We use the expression, you got to be able to sit in there with a tough jaw and take a hit. Watch this. Bam. Jared Aldrick right there for the knockdown. That's the thing about Henny. He will sit in there and hold that ball. Give those receivers a little bit of time to work down the field.
Here's Anger's fourth punt of the day, and not a good one. Off the side of his foot, it takes a hop, and Thigpen lets it go. Carries inside the 40, ends up as a 52-yarder, but there is a flag down. Flag is back at the edit-to commercial. Lamar Miller of the Dolphins on that punt by Anger was called on a hold, a 10-yard penalty. They have added it on to the punt.
Go!
So here is Miami back to the offense. Big hole for Bush. Reggie Bush to midfield. Reggie Bush to the 30, cuts back the other way, still on his feet, and brought down inside the 20. Kozlowski and Harris able to stay with him and finally hold him down. A 53-yard play.
Yeah, you got to look at it from the blimp. I mean, this is what he's so capable of, the suddenness, and then once he gets up on the second level, it's the speed to run right by you. If you take a poor angle with a guy like Reggie Bush, you're in big trouble. Oh, what a great run.
And hearing the chants of Reggie. First down at the Jacksonville 20. Now Tannehill will run and slides inside the 15. He had a 9-yard run late in the first half, which was instrumental in leading to the touchdown pass to Javarsky Lane.
Yeah, he's trying to throw it out here to the backs. They're not even looking. They had a run called, and then Tannehill looks out there to Marcus Thigpen. Again, we talked about putting the guy in a position he's not accustomed to being in. You got a running back who's playing a lot in the slot, in the passing situation. They had a quick alert to be able to throw it out wide if the run wasn't a good look.
Fasano in motion, 2nd and 4. Hand off to Bush. This time he is bottled up. Stopped by Russell Allen, the outside linebacker, who started every game this season for the Jaguars, which is very unusual the way things have gone injury-wise for Jacksonville.
Yeah, they've been devastating. I mean, it's just one of those things you mentioned, but been without linebackers, the secondary. They've not had any continuity there with the injuries that they've had, not only at corner but at safety. And that really affects, I think, the way you play collectively as a group.
Miami 3rd down and 3, some confusion as they line up. Bush remains in as the running back, Lane the fullback. And here's Bush trying to follow Lane that cuts to the outside, and he's pushed back. Short of a first down. Jeremy Mincey, the right defensive end, makes the stop. Gain of 1, so 14 carries, 79 yards for Bush, certainly helped by that 53-yard run just a moment ago. And now Dan Carpenter will come on. What is, would you say, the over and under that Brandon Fields throws here on the snap?
I think we saw maybe the last throw from Brandon Fields for a while. It wasn't very pretty.
30-yard attempt, and Carpenter able to line drive it right through. So he's hit from 53, he's hit from 30, all set up by this. Reggie Bush with some gorgeous moves for 53 yards. A moment ago, Dan Carpenter with his second field goal of the game, a 30-yarder. Reggie Bush with a 53-yard run to set it up, but they had to settle for 3.
Yeah, it was a wasted drive. I mean, they had some problems there on 3rd down, just communication, getting lined up, coming out of the huddle.
Another powerful kickoff by Carpenter to bring it out to the 20, and we'll take a break. Miami 13, Jacksonville 3. aerial coverage of today's game being provided by DirecTV. A 79-degree afternoon here in South Florida. Looks to be a little overcast. Our producer, Ross Schneiderman, acting like a Miami weatherman, says no, it's partly cloudy.
Yeah, I think he studied meteorology in school at the University of San Francisco.
Coming up on 5.5 to play here in the third as Henny throws the screen to Blackman. He's immediately hit by Sean Smith, the left cornerback. Just a 2-yard advance. So they have held Justin Blackman in check, a guy who's come on in recent weeks, although he did have an apparent touchdown that was nullified because Guy Wimper, offensive lineman, did not properly report in as a pass receiver.
Huge play in the game. I mean, think about that, the turn of events.
Easy. Going back.
Murphy and Jones in the backfield. 2nd down and 8. And Murphy is stopped at the 25-yard line. You know, this is only the 5th time that these two teams have played in regular season play. However, in the 1999 AFC Divisional Playoff in Jacksonville, remember this final score? January 15th, 2000. Jaguars beat Miami 62-7. Final game for Dan Marino. Final game for the head coach of that club, Jimmy Johnson. 62-7, which ended an era for the Dolphins. That ball knocked down. Carlos Dansby got a piece of it.
Boy, Carlos Dansby's made a couple nice plays. You see him, he's just going to come into your screen right there. He knows he can't get there on the rush. He's just following the quarterback's eyes all the way, knows he's trying to throw that little angle route. 110 tackles already this season for Carlos Dansby. Busy.
So here's Brian Anger back at his 10. Marcus Thigpen at his 32-yard line. That's a booming punt by Anger. And Thigpen wisely calls for the fair catch. 49-yard punt, no return. Miami takes over at their 23-yard line. It's been an outstanding day for the rookie quarterback Ryan Tannehill. 15 of 20, 161 yards, including a touchdown. Bush in the backfield. Play fake. Tannehill being chased. And is able to complete. He gets Hartline for a first down. Beautiful play by Tannehill. Dwight Lowry made the tackle. There was pressure from Austin Lane, and he could not get to Tannehill.
Had a really nice job keeping this play alive. Hartline's going to run the comeback. It's not there. He makes himself available. You're going to see him keep sliding. And really nice job by Tannehill, giving him the chance to work downfield.
17-yard pass play. Hartline's 3rd catch of the day. Here's Bush up the middle. Bush picks up 3. Stopped by Jarris Pendleton. So Miami now operating out of the no huddle. They have a 13-3 lead. A 2nd and 7 for the Dolphins. Time running down here in the 3rd quarter. Just under 3 minutes to go. Tannehill able to take a long look. Couldn't find anyone, and then runs to the 40. 35-30 and out of bounds. Flag is down. That flag over at the far side of the field. That's a 30-yard run, but let's see what this flag involves.
While the quarterback was in the pocket, illegal contact, defense, number 27. That'll be 5 yards from the end of the run. First down.
It's been a rough day for Rasheed Mathis, who is called on that penalty.
Yeah, Mathis is just really hurting Jacksonville right now. He just doesn't trust his speed. He's afraid they're going to run by him, and so he jams them. Well, this is a really nice effort here by Ryan Tannehill. I think you get a chance to really see some of that speed. I mean, this guy's a legitimate 4'6", 40 quarterback that can get up and make some plays outside the pocket. I'd like to see him do more of that.
First down, Miami out of the gun. Bush taking the handoff, had nowhere to go. Try to make the turn, and no gain on the play. Ryan Tannehill saying how excited he has been for former Texas A&M teammate Johnny Manziel. Now, last year, Ryan was Johnny Football's mentor when Manziel was going through his redshirt year.
Hey, 51 Rocco, 51 Rocco.
Rich, what does that kid do for an encore as he heads to his sophomore season after winning the Heisman?
Well, he's been impressive. I just, even his Heisman acceptance speech I thought was incredible.
Tannehill. It is dropped. He had Marcus Thigpen despite the double coverage.
Well, you can see him coming right at you. Just a pretty good throw here. Boy, you've got to be able to make that catch. He had either Fasano. You see Fasano is going to be inside. They've got Fasano going first. And what they do is they do a nice job holding the safety, and it allows you to throw that ball right behind the safety to Thigpen.
Leo.
3rd and 10. A field goal from here would be from about 40 yards out. Tannehill right on target again, connects with Hartline, and let's see where they spot it. Looks to be short of a first down. Hartline is upset with himself as he heads back to the Miami sideline, so we'll see Dan Carpenter. The crowd is booing. They want to see Miami go for it, which would not be the wise play. You can extend to a 16-3 lead.
Yeah, you know, they've had a lot of good drives here in the second half, and yet they've had to settle for a couple field goals. They actually blew a field goal opportunity earlier, but
this a 31-yard attempt, angle to the left. Oh, Carpenter with his 3rd field goal of the day.
well, we're just talking about a couple big plays to start that second half, but not a lot to show for it. They start off with the big throw down the field to Hartline. They come back, he drops one, and then they try that ill-advised fake field goal. So they really come away with no points there. And of course, the big 53-yard run by Reggie Bush. They can't convert in a 3rd and 5 situation, and they get nothing on that drive. So some wasted opportunities already here in the second half. Well, you get down in that part of the field. You can't settle for field goals. It's been a problem. You look at where they're at in terms of scoring offense. They don't score a lot of points. They win a lot of close. I should say they win a lot of close games. They're in a lot of close games. One of the reasons why is they've not been effective enough down in the red zone.
But for Ryan Tannehill, one of his best performances of the season. He was playing at a high level early on when they were able to go to 4-3, and then things went the other way. They've lost 5 of the last 6, but today Tannehill 17 for 23, 187 yards, including a touchdown. And again, Murphy has to let it go. What a job here by Dan Carpenter. He's been pounding that ball into the end zone and through the end zone. Well, thought your fantasy season was over. It is not. NFL Playoff Challenge is back and is better than ever. You can win a trip to Super Bowl 48 in 2014. Play today at NFL.com/fantasy.
Well, Jacksonville was down 17-3 last week to the Jets, and they really opened things up in the second half with no huddle, a lot more shotgun, a lot more throwing from Chad Henne. I suppose we could see that here as well.
And you saw those numbers. Jacksonville averaging less than 17 points a game, and to this point just 3 on the board. Mercedes Lewis, the tight end, able to make the catch. Good for 8, stopped by Dansby.
And here they go with the no huddle, just like last week. And this is where they open things up, and I think Henne actually functions better in this system where he's able to call plays at the line of scrimmage. We'll get you in the right play.
Coming up on 30 seconds left. Third quarter. Montel Owens able to find some running room. Has a first down across the 40. Montel goes for 12. Dansby and McCann combined to make the stop, and that could do it. Let's see if they get another play off. It could do it for this third quarter with final seconds. And again, it is Owens able to cut back, gets across the 45, so picks up 5, and that's it for the third quarter. Miami has taken command. We'll be back to South Florida after this message and a word from your local station. The fourth quarter, 16 unanswered points by Miami, and they have that 16-3 lead. Henny able to complete. Shorts nearly went the distance. Ankle tackled from behind by Chris Clemens, the strong safety.
Well, they've run the slants. Now they're running the glance route, the quick post. And what a great throw between the corner and the safety. Kind of a shoestring tackle, if you will, from Chris Clemens. He saves a touchdown.
That's good for 30. Fourth catch for Shorts for 72 yards. Montel Owens, the running back, as Shad Henny makes changes at the line. Owens trying to turn the corner and not much success. Carlos Dansby, who's been all over the field, comes up with the tackle. Montel Owens, career day last week, 91 yards, 14 carries in the loss to the Jets. He's been a Pro Bowler the last 2 years, but as a special teams player, and he finds himself as starting running back. He is the fourth running back used by the Jaguars this season. Looks like some confusion. Owens returns to the backfield. And here's Owens straight ahead, where he is stopped by Kevin Burnett. What a game it's been for the outside linebacker, Kevin Burnett. That's his 7th tackle, along with an assist and a sack.
Well, not a lot of teams have had success running the ball against this defense. And if I'm Chad Henne, he's changed a couple plays now from passes to runs. I'm going to throw it more. We've had some success here throwing the ball, particularly to Cecil Shorts. The last 2 times he's changed plays to runs, they've gotten stuffed.
Third down and 8. Angles it to the near side. A diving catch is made. Jordan Shipley with the catch right at the marker.
Another decision for Mike Mularkey here.
Just short, yeah.
Terrell 16-3. I mean, you're 2-11.
And now here is Guy Wimper back on the field, and hopefully from Jacksonville's point of view, he did check in. Yes,
that's right. You see him here on the end man on the line of scrimmage.
Wimper wearing number 68. 4th and inches. They go to Owens. Miami feels they've made the stop. Let's see where they spot it. It is Miami ball, so Montel Owens coming up short. Dolphins take over from just inside the 15-yard line. Back in Miami, Marv Albert with Rich Gannon. We're early fourth quarter. Dolphins take over. They have a 16-3 lead on the Jaguars, and Tannehill on a keeper.
When we go back and look at the last play, a couple things here. Look how tight the splits are. That's a problem. That's a short edge for a guy like Trusnick on the backside. So they don't even block him. This is just too easy of a play to be able to come in and make the tackle on Owens.
Rich, how about the running of Ryan Tannehill? 6 carries, 53 yards. This time it's Lamar Miller. Picked up 2 short of a first down. DeJuan Landry on the stop. Was set for an update. JB and Bill Cowan.
No quit in Indy.
How about this? Andrew Luck to Dwayne Allen, 8 yards out to cut the lead to 23-17. We're in the fourth quarter, and Andrew Luck, the last 2 weeks, have led fourth quarter comebacks. Can he do it again?
Colts trailing by only 6. Back to Marv and Rich.
I tell you, the Colts, one of the remarkable stories this season in the NFL.
Yeah, half dozen fourth quarter comebacks already from Andrew Luck.
Bruce Arians taking over from Chuck Pagano. The pass handled by Miller right at the marker. Russell Allen makes the stop. And it's a first down for Miami.
Boy, we're talking about Ryan Tannehill, Marv, and his ability to run around. He's throwing it well, too. He's making quick decisions. The ball's coming out of his hands quick. He's completed 75% of his throws, thrown a touchdown. They're really excited. You know, they've had so much turnover at that position. Had 17 different starting quarterbacks going all the way back to 2000s, the most in the NFL. They finally feel like they found the answer at quarterback in Ryan Tannehill.
At one stretch, completed 11 straight. This one is incomplete, but a flag down. Pass intended for Armand Bings, a recent addition to the Miami roster.
Pass interference, defense, number 20. Contact through the back. Automatic first down.
It's called on the rookie corner, Mike Harris. Bins originally signed by the Bengals practice squad, played for Cincinnati, then was waived early October, picked up, signed as a free agent by the Dolphins.
You know, we haven't mentioned Derek Cox's name today, the other corner. I mean, the Dolphins have stayed away from him. They chose to work on the rookie Mike Harris and Rasheed Mathis.
Go, go! Reggie Bush accelerating before he even took the hand. I should say Lamar Miller. Before he even got a hold of the ball and picks up 8. Well, we talked about this earlier. You see Baltimore trailing Denver 31-10. Indianapolis trailing Houston, but perhaps on the verge of yet another comeback. Baltimore and Green Bay would clinch the division with a win. Green Bay in front of Chicago.
But Baltimore firing Cam Cameron this week and promoted Jim Caldwell. It doesn't look like that's worked out too well so far for the Ravens.
This time Miller is tripped up back behind the line, stopped by Russell Allen.
Baltimore's in danger of losing 3 straight. It's not good.
No. It's 3rd down and 2 for the Dolphins. They have a 16-3 lead. 6 minutes gone by in this fourth quarter. Miami at 5-8. They've dropped 5 of the last 6 games. Jacksonville at 2 up, 11 down. Going through the worst season of the history of Jaguar franchise. Nice pass, very tough window there for Tannehill, but he got it through to Matthews, who makes the catch, and Miami has a first down.
And I was just looking at our stats. Miami's had the ball for almost 29 minutes. Jacksonville just a little over 22 minutes. And that's really been the story all season for this Jacksonville defense. They spent so much time on the field because of the struggles that they've had getting off the field on 3rd down, and also the struggles that their own offenses had, that they get worn down late in games. I mean, we seem to see it every week from this Jacksonville defense. They play hard for about 3 quarters, and they're on the field way too much. And it's a problem in the fourth quarter.
Play fake by Tannehill. Throws on the run. Catch was made by Hartline, and he was in bounds. Brian Hartline, who is able to play that end line so well.
Yeah, just look at him. I mean, he just sits there and he waits for this end to come back around to him. See that? He just gets in a position to get the angle on him, then he's able to cut him off on the backside. Now, if you're paying attention and you're Jeremy Mincey and you see Fasano in the backfield, you have to know that's coming.
2nd down and 5. Bush returns to the backfield. Tannehill throwing on the run, a wide open receiver. Anthony Fasano with the catch inside the 30. 22-yard pass play.
And they've done some nice things formationally. We talked about Fasano just a second ago in the backfield. They do a nice job moving him around. They split him out a little bit. And, of course, the ability for Tannehill to step up and move around and buy some extra time for his tight end to work down the field.
Fifth catch for the 7-year man out of Notre Dame. Originally a second-round pick of Dallas. Spent a couple of years with the Cowboys. This is fifth season as a member of the Dolphins. And a first down for Miami. Bush able to break free. Spins his way inside the 20. All down by Chris Krasinski.
You know, I've heard all these talks about Reggie Bush, the knock on him. He's a situational back, a smaller back who can't take the pounding, a guy that can't run between the tackles. This guy can still get it done. And I think the criticism really bothered him when he first came to Miami about his size and about the fact he's not an every down back. I think he took it as a personal challenge. And as you mentioned, Marv, he's going to be, he finishes strong this year. He's looking at back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons.
That was a gain of 9, and then off the right side, Bush able to pick up the first down. Stanford and Lane combined to make the tackle. Coming up, time permitting, after our game, the NFL Today update presented by Farmers Insurance. Join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. First down, Miami. At the Jacksonville 18, Lamar Miller, who has run well, is checked back in. Rookie from Miami, a fourth-round draft pick. Lamar born and raised here in the Miami area. And takes the handoff, cuts to the right, then back the other way, gets inside the 15-yard line. Picked up 4. C.J. Mosley on the stop.
And Lamar Miller can come in. He's a nice change of pace back. You saw that run a handful of plays ago. He's so quick to the hole as well. You look at Jacksonville there today, the rush defense. 31st in run defense. That's not a good thing. You can't hang your head on that. You can't stop the run. Then you can't rush the passer and have some fun.
Wait a second.
That's right. That's what the defensive lineman always said. Let's stop the run so we can rush the passer and have some fun.
I'm just writing this all down.
Jason Babin, he's hating it. He wants to just get those sacks.
2nd and 6, Tannehill out of the gun and throws. The receiver fell down, and a flag in the backfield. Pass intended for Hartline, who comes up
Personal
hobbling.
foul, roughing the passer, number 50, half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
Well, it's the outside linebacker, Russell Allen, who made the contact.
Yeah, he's right here. He's just going to come off the edge, and he's going to hit Ryan Tannehill. Got to be careful. You got to lower your aiming point. This one gets up. He hits him over the head. Boy, anywhere near the neck or the head of the quarterback, they're going to call that. He could have lowered the aiming point there a little bit. Wouldn't have had an issue at all.
Miami now 1st and goal at the 8. Bush and Lane lined up in the I formation. Here's Bush trying to follow the fullback. Allen is there to make the stop. Picked up about 2. 4.5 remaining here in the 4th. Miami with a 16-3 lead on Jacksonville, looking to go to a record of 6-8. And as we mentioned earlier, mathematically, although it is really slim hopes, Miami wins here today. They're still alive in terms of a wild card berth. And Bush is turned back by Julian Stanford. He did pick up about 3 or 4 on that play.
You know, it's amazing. You think about where Miami is at 5-8. Had a great conversation with Jeff Ireland, the general manager of the Dolphins, the other day, and we talked about, really the difference between being 10-6 and 6-10 isn't that much. You think about those 2 overtime losses that Miami had in week 3 and week 4 to the Jets and to Arizona.
Well,
games where they couldn't finish late in the game.
Jaguars lost 3 times in overtime, but as a fellow by the name of Bill Parcells has said over and over, you are
what your record says you are.
You are what you are. Yes.
I think this is a young football team, both of them really learning how to win late in games.
I was looking for some rhyming, but from you once again, I enjoyed that so much. On this drive, Miami has had the ball for nearly 9 minutes, 13 plays, 83 yards, and they have a 3rd and goal. Bush remains in the backfield. Play fake. Tannehill flips it. Touchdown, Miami. Anthony Fasano.
And what did Mel Tucker tell us last night? We've got to be able to defend the boots to our right and to our left because they run them both ways with Ryan Tannehill. Again, hiding Fasano. You see him work all the way back across the formation. You get Tannehill out there on the edge and you give him a 2-way go. Boy, Fasano's had a nice game as well.
5th touchdown of the season for Fasano's 6th catch. And Miami obviously taking no chances with a 22-3 lead, going for the 2-point conversion. Lamar Miller is in the backfield. Here's Tannehill on a roll again. Tannehill throws a bloop, and it's caught by Fasano. Looked like a punt. 14 plays, 85 yards in 9 minutes. Longest drive of the season by the Dolphins. They add to the lead. They're now up 24-3. Rich, the way Dan Carpenter has been booming kickoffs, he has not allowed a return by the Jaguars. They're going with new kick return and punt return people because of all the injuries that have taken place.
And believe me, the 10 guys covering the kick appreciate that as well.
4 touchbacks. And this time he'll run it out. Down he goes at the 19. So Richard Murphy with his first return for 23 yards, and we will step away. Jacksonville starts out from its 19-yard line, heading back to the shotgun. Final minutes, and a bloop throw connects with Cecil Shorts out of the 40 for a first down. That's a 22-yard gain. Dolphins with a 24-3 lead on the Jaguars. Shorts comes up with his 5th catch for 94 yards. And he's passed. Beautiful diving catch is made by Blackman, Justin Blackman, with only his 4th catch of the day. That's good for 27, but things, of course, have opened up here in the secondary.
Yeah, it opened up, but that's a heck of a throw by Chad Henning. He threw about the only place he could for Justin Blackman.
There you go. And he's passed off the mark, nearly deflected into an interception. That was intended for Tony Clemens, the rookie out of Colorado. Pressure from Rashad Jones, the free safety.
You're talking about that catch that Justin Blackman made on the play before his 48th of the season, a rookie record for Jacksonville. Talked about how he's starting to come on here in the second half of the season.
And his pass again deflected and nearly picked off. Intended for Blackman.
Well, watch him come off the line of scrimmage. I was just watching him. Watch how tired he is. This is not a very good route by him. I mean, there's got to be a sense of urgency. And you got to tuck that shirt in. You got to do a better job late. Look at him. See him leaned over in the huddle. That's not a good sign. See him trying to catch his breath. And your conditioning. That's something late in the season. We talk about these rookies hitting the wall. That's not something you want to put on film.
Once again, Rashad Jones got a piece of it. 3rd and 10 at the Miami 31 with 2 minutes, 20 seconds to play here in the fourth. That is completed to Blackman. First down for the Jaguars. 13-yard hookup. Justin Blackman, rookie from Oklahoma State, a first-round draft pick, 5th selection overall, as we have been discussing during the telecast. Got off to the slow start, but has come on. Here's Henne throwing end zone and overthrows, intended for shorts. Now 2 minutes to go. Just under 2 left in the fourth. We'll be right back. Coming up next, the playoff push continues. Steelers battling the Cowboys, or some of you will see the Chiefs and the Raiders. Check your local listings. 2nd and 10 for the Jaguars. With just under 2 to go in this fourth quarter. Henne's pass is caught. Shorts with the catch, shy of a first down. Brian McCann comes up to make the stop. That's good for 6. It'll be a 3rd down and 4 at the 11. Henne with the low pass that is a diving catch by Blackman just inside the 5. And it sets up a 1st and goal at the 4-yard line. Timeout is taken by the Jaguars.
Really nice job going down for it and getting it for Justin Blackman. And a nice throw by Chad Henne. He's protecting the receiver. See that safety on the inside there? The quarterback saw that. You saw Rashad Jones slip down, so he threw that one low and away to protect his receiver. That's what a good veteran quarterback will do for you.
So Blackman has come on late, 6 catches, 93 yards, had that touchdown nullified earlier with Guy Wimper, the offensive tackle, failing to report in as a eligible receiver. And they took the touchdown away, which changed the complexion of the game. 1st and goal. Here's Henne. Intended for shorts. Incomplete. Broken up by double coverage. McCann got a piece of it.
They're just trying to throw the fade route right off the line of scrimmage. You see Cecil Shorts. A nice play by McCann. He sees the ball the whole way and is able to get that left hand in there.
1 minute and 24 remaining in this fourth quarter. This is all academic. Jacksonville would just like to score a touchdown at this point. They're trailing 24-3 as a 2nd and goal at the 4. And he looks the other way, fires, and it's dropped. Pass intended for the tight end, Mercedes Lewis.
I think there's a little bit of a communication issue here. They put Mercedes Lewis over there because they wanted to throw the fade route. I think Chad at the snap tried to back shoulder it, and there's a communication issue there. What happens is Lewis is thinking it's fade, and the quarterback's trying to throw a back shoulder route, and that's just maybe not something they've repped enough with a tight end as opposed to the receiver.
Blackman flex wide to the left for this 3rd and goal at the 4. The pass from Henne, a leaping attempt is made by Shorts. The question, was he inbounds?
The official signaled it. The back official put his hands up.
Yeah, he called touchdown. Miami saying no, of course.
Regardless, this is a great catch. I don't know if he gets them both in, but what a great throw, and good effort by Cecil Shorts. There's the one. No. Oh, wait! Oh, he was close. Look at his left toe. Boy, it was close. It's a question of what came down first. Keep an eye on his left toe. All right. Now, what hits first? Oh, yeah, the elbow hits first. He's out. That was close, though. I saw that left toe come back in. A good angle of it there. Look at the extension here by Cecil Shorts. Now, he gets the right foot in. Now, what comes down first, the elbow or the toe? And it's the elbow. It's a great shot by our cameraman there in the corner of the end zone.
And all touchdowns are reviewed. They'll take a look.
That's a pretty good shot right there, isn't it? That's why we put him there.
What was Mike Malarkey telling us last night? That Cecil Shorts just barely scratched the surface as to what he can do in the future.
Isn't it amazing? He had 2 catches last year, and there's a guy that's really taken advantage of the opportunity.
And
he's really come on.
From a Division III school, Mount Union holds a number of Division III all-time records. A 4th-round pick last year.
Yeah, I mean, look at the turnaround. Look at the improvement by rank. Just 2 catches last year, 43 this season. How about the yards, though? How about 824 yards and the touchdowns?
And Cecil was a question mark for today, coming back, recovering from a concussion.
Yeah, he didn't play last week, and you mentioned this opportunity that he has taken advantage of, and of course, the fact that he played at a small Division III school, Mount Union. Pierre Garçon, guy that we saw last week. Another guy. I think I was just watching Mount Union the other night on television play for the Division III National Championship once again against St. Thomas, a small Division III school out of Minnesota.
All right, here's John Parry.
After reviewing the play, it's an incomplete pass. The receiver's elbow hit out of bounds prior to the second foot or a body part. It'll be 4th and goal on the 4-yard line, right hash, and the game clock will remain at is.
Family and friends remaining here at Sun Life Stadium, giving the big cheer.
Absolutely.
Minute 14 left in the 4th. As you see, it is now a 4th and goal for the Jaguars, just inside the 5.
This is important to Miami, this defense. I mean, hey, it's not easy to hold a team to field goal all day. This would be quite an accomplishment for this Miami defensive unit. And they're going to bring pressure. Here it comes.
Kenny throws, and it's knocked down. So the Dolphins able to stop the Jaguars. Knocked down by Cameron Wake. How about Wake without a sack today? Most unusual. Has 14 for the season, but a good play right here.
Well, he gives himself up. He starts the rush. He peels off knowing that the safety's coming off the edge. You see, he starts in, ties up the tackle, then he jumps out of there. Really nice athleticism. This guy played linebacker last year, made the transition from the 3-4 to the 4-3. You mentioned Marv. He's been quiet today, 14 sacks coming in. But you look at what Jacksonville did to him. I mean, they constantly put the tight end over there. They put formations into the boundary. They had the back over there chipping. They weren't going to let Cameron Wake ruin this day.
It's Reggie Bush finding a hole across the 10. Austin Lane making the stop as you look at the playoff picture. And in the hunt in terms of wild card with the victory here, Miami 6-8. And they are still mathematically alive, although there are all kinds of possibilities with tiebreakers, and depends what Pittsburgh does against Dallas. But they will go to 6 up, 8 down. They had dropped 2 straight, 5 of the last 6. Jaguars will go to 2-12, 3 straight losses, 10 of the last 11. And the coaching staff will look at this because you know when you hold a team to 3 points what that does in terms of skewing your defensive record, which is why statistics often don't mean anything, because you could have a game like this and they could propel themselves. The 19th coming in defensively could end the day, what, 16th, 17th?
Yeah, not only that, but the run defense. I mean, they've been a top 10 run defense most of the season, and this should push them up as well.
Reggie Bush, the ball carrier. And another timeout taken by the Jaguars, and that's their final timeout. Well, as the Jaguars look to the rest of the season, they finish at home against New England, then at Tennessee, and they look to next year. We have put together the holiday wish list.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that the starting quarterback is on this roster right now. They need some more help at wide receiver. We talked about more playmakers on defense. Just 14 sacks this season. It's one of the reasons why they went out and got Jason Babin, but you just can't have all the sacks, all the pressure can't come from one player. It's too easy from an offensive perspective to address that concern. You look at both quarterbacks there, Blaine Gabbert, who's on injury reserve, and of course Chad Henne. Don't have production and consistency at that position. it's hard to win.
And Miami will just run it out. They will finish up next Sunday at home against Buffalo, right here in Miami. And then at New England, Ryan Tannehill with an outstanding performance. 22 of 28 at one stretch, hit 11 straight, 220 yards, 2 touchdown throws, and also a couple of nifty runs. 7 carries, 52 yards. Reggie Bush, 22 carries, 105 yards. It's a 24-3 victory for the Dolphins over the Jaguars. So Miami 6-8. Jacksonville goes to 2-12 thanks to producer Ross Schneiderman, director Andy Goldberg. This is Marv Albert, along with Rich Gannon, saying so long from South Florida. Now time for the NFL Today update presented by Farmers Insurance, as we send it to James Brown in New York.